Barry Goldwater, Republican senator from Arizona, forerunner to Reagan. Sagebrush Rebellion. Rebellion against federal control of American land favored state and local land ownership, 1970s. Mobilized conservative opposition to environmental laws and restrictions members complained about. The land the federal government owned in many western states. Rev. Jerry Falwell, conservative Christian right leader, founder of Moral Majority. Rev. Pat Robertson, conservative Christian right leader, founder of Christian Coalition. Reaganomics. The federal economic policies of the Reagan administration, elected in 1981, these policies combined a monetarist fiscal policy, supply-side tax cuts, and domestic budget cutting. Their goal was to reduce the size of the federal government and stimulate economic growth. Sandra Day O'Connor, first female Supreme Court justice appointed by Reagan. Walter Mondale, Democratic presidential candidate who lost in a landslide to Reagan during the 1984 election. Geraldine Ferraro. In 1984, she was the first woman to appear on a major party presidential ticket. She was a Congresswoman running for vice president with Walter Mondale. Rev. Jesse Jackson, African-American civil rights leader who ran for Democratic presidential nomination in 1984 and 1988, supported Rainbow Coalition. Vietnam Syndrome. Reluctance to use military force abroad because of the psychological trauma caused by different aspects of the Vietnam War. Muammar Gadhafi, leader of Libya aligned with USSR, anti-Israel, wanted to be a nuclear power. Libya was bombed by U.S. in 1986. Beirut, Lebanon, site of a U.S. Marine base where over 200 Marines were killed in a terrorist suicide bombing attack. Grenada, a tiny Caribbean island seized by a radical military council in 1983, which Reagan ordered the U.S. military to reclaim, a quick action that made him appear decisive and gained much popular support from both Americans and Grenadans. El Salvador, country whose government was supported by Reagan to fight communist rebels. The government also used death squads to murder rebels. Contras, anti-communist rebels that fought the socialist Sandinista government in Nicaragua, supported by Reagan, U.S. government, who got the dollar by selling weapons to Iran. Anastasio Somoza, Nicaraguan dictator president overthrown by Sandinistas. Daniel Ortega, president of Nicaraguan Sandinista government. Evil Empire, nickname for Soviet Union. Strategic Defense Initiative. Reagan's plan for a ground and space-based system to protect U.S. from nuclear missiles. Mikhail Gorbachev, last president of the Soviet Union. Glasnost. Gorbachev program promoting openness and transparency in Soviet government institutions, decline of censorship and increased freedom of expression. Perestroika, a policy initiated by Mikhail Gorbachev that involved restructuring of the social and economic status quo in communist Russia towards a market-based economy and society. Berlin Wall, a fortified wall surrounding West Berlin, Germany, built in 1961 to prevent East German citizens from traveling to the West. Its demolition in 1989 symbolized the end of the Cold War. Reagan-Gorbachev Summits. Agreements between the U.S. and the USSR to reduce nuclear missiles. INF Treaty. Agreement between Gorbachev and Reagan to eliminate intermediate-range nuclear and conventional ground-based missiles. START. Agreement between Reagan and Gorbachev to cut the size of long-range nuclear arsenals in half, rather than simply slowing the production rate. SALT. Refers to 2 rounds of bilateral talks and corresponding international treaties involving the United States and the Soviet Union, the Cold War superpowers, on the issue of armament control. James Watt, Reagan's appointed Secretary of the Interior, anti-environmentalist, resigned for making discriminatory comment in a speech. Gorsuch, hired by Reagan to dismantle EPA. HUD Scandal. Samuel Pierce and Deborah Gordine took money from low-income housing programs and gave it to Republican donors to buy luxury condos. Ayatollah Khomeini, leader of Iran during Iran-Contra Scandal. Oliver North, Marine lieutenant colonel who devised plan to give money from Iran weapon sales to Contras in Nicaragua. Arms for hostages. U.S. government hoped that the selling of arms to Iran would result in freedom for American hostages in Lebanon.